And that had an impact on me. And it's still something that I remember, that in efforts to not to honor the spirit that is in me, that is of me, and that is really of all of us, that respect is really a way to greater peace, to greater honor, to greater freedom, and that is really a wonderful thing. And that is a ticket. I'm kind of getting as I'm talking. It is a ticket to peace, because as I respect, I'm not coming in with an agenda. I can't hold on to an agenda. Just like today, I mean, I had an agenda about music that I wanted everybody to get to hear in the background, and wonderful things that I found that I really wanted to share. But I have to put that aside. That just wasn't what was wanted for me to do tonight by this indwelling presence. And when I let go of trying to get anyone else to do or be something, wow. And I've had a lot of lessons in that. And a big one that some of you know about, that I really struggled with, really wanting that other person to change and to this and that and blah, blah, blah. And as I let go of it, they did too. And it's amazing. But I think that as I allow spirit to just be and allow myself to give up willfulness, a lot of things get to also work out in spite of me. so um so I started thinking about doing this today, and I started thinking about the word respect. And of course I wanted to play Aretha, Respect, and give me a little respect. And I thought of Rodney Dangerfield, just give me a little respect, and several other songs, and he's wouldn't have been a song, but and then I started looking up. I wanted to find the origin of respect and the etymology. So some of what I found is that it comes late Middle English from Latin, respectus, from the verb respicere, look back at, regard, from back, specier, looking at, feedback. Let's see, let's see. Anyway, a lot of what it's came right down to, because I was even getting words like spectacular and spectator and spectrum and aspect. And then I thought, well, what's the re? Re to me is like repeat. Do it again and again. I like to think that Pete and repeat hang out together, and seat and reseat hang out together. So with respect, to see, to regard again and again, a feeling of deep affirmation or admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements, but also seeing it, even when we're not seeing it, knowing that it's there. The sentence, the director had a lot of respect for Douglas as an actor, similar esteem, worth, regard. And what I take that to mean is namaste, the God in me. With the God in me, I embrace the God in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. And so to let my higher self see you, see others. And wow, that means I don't have to try to be in charge, hold it together, make things happen, all kinds of things. So that's some of what I wanted to share. And I'm sure I'll find other things in this menagerie of things I was printing out, getting ready for this. But I'd love to hear from some of you. what does respect mean to you, and how do you do that, and how does that work for you, or how do you experience it? Anyone?
Well, I'll start us off then.
Okay.
Um, I guess, when I was a child, it was like you respected your elders, just like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you, because they're older, you gave them respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember when I was in high school, and if you were standing in um the breezeway and a teacher walks up, you go to the side and you let the teacher go by, because that's your teacher and you give them respect. So I always did that. And I always thought, well, when I'm older, then I'll get the respect, because it goes to the older. Somehow that didn't quite work out.
Oh.
Well, I mean, some students are very respectful and
Mm-hmm.
very, uh, I don't know, nice. And then others, it's like, who do you think you are telling me what to do? So that I didn't feel as much respect. So I do believe that respect is important, but I do agree with you that it's across the board. It's not just for the elderly, but for all people.
Yeah.
And one thing about the French that I always admired, um, is that, well, I know on the subway, it might be different now, but they used to have it where they had a sign up on the subway. And if you were a veteran, or a pregnant woman, or someone who's elderly, or someone who needs assistance, then those people should get the first seats. And then, you should get up and let them have the seat. And
Mm-hmm.
I always appreciated that about the French, because when I would take students to France, I would tell them, always give up your seat for the elderly. And a lot of times they would just forget. And you have a woman that's old and needed a place to sit. And, you know, sometimes I had to remind them, get up and, give your seat to someone else. So that type of respect, even though it's only because they're older, or maybe because, if you're pregnant, you need to take the weight off and sit
Mm-hmm.
down. Uh, so I don't know. I kind of feel like that needs, I don't know, just that respect of the elderly, or people who just need some assistance. Um, Somehow, if we could teach the young people that, um, I don't know, it just seems like, it's the right thing to do. Um, give a veteran the seat, give a old person the seat, give someone who's handicapped the seat. Um, and that shows respect for those people. Um,
I'd like to see everyone, you know, not everyone necessarily needs to sit down, but everyone might need kindness, like, hi, how are you today? Or something about maybe something we all have in common in the day, whether it's the weather or the food, or, hi, or is there anything I can do for you? Or without, it may not be a seat, because I'll tell you right now, people often think that people with disabilities need to be not physical, need to be not active, not involved, need to always be put somewhere, have a place to sit. And it's nice to have it offered, but it's not necessarily to be assumed, but maybe to just treat everyone with, hi, how are you? What's going on? But kindness. But also like, do you need any help? I mean, I think young people of all ages to be able to, where we can, I ask that of other people. Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you need right now? I mean, I ask that more than I ever used to now at this time in my life. Um, but it's funny too, because like you said, you want the kids to be more aware and more reaching out. I didn't think that older people needed that, but I sure don't like it if a young person is disrespectful of me or an older person. Now, I will say that. That is so funny. But yeah, I'm like, I earned this.
I always felt, yeah. I mean, I, you know, let the teachers go first, open the door for them, uh, because they were older. Now, I cannot say that I always held the door for every single person. Uh,
Hmm.
but just because it was expected to be, you were expected to be kinder to the older people because they're older. And so I don't know. I think that's kind of lost in our culture now, but it could be just our fast pace because we rush, 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 do this, do that, don't have time for this, don't have time for that. And the young people are the same, they're in a rush and may not it may not pass their mind unless they're taught that. Um, there was a kid, um, well, there's more than one kid. There's a lot of kids, and you know how it is in the South. It's different from the North, but there's a lot of children who it's always yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. But when you live up north, I mean, you were in Connecticut, so I'm sure
Hmm.
you and you felt this that you didn't have to say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, um, because that's just not their culture.
I
Um,
still was taught that, and I do notice it more in the South, though. And there were times that it was also sort of a snarky response, but yeah, I was taught that. I was taught to do that, not all the time, but I did, I was certainly very familiar with it and that I was, meant to be polite. I still get confused about when people are to call somebody by their first name or not, because some people will introduce themselves as their first and last name, and yet I got in trouble one time when I called somebody by their name. And I notice, some doctors will walk in and say, "Hi, my name is," and they'll give their first and last name. And yet, some people will still feel that they need to. And I have people now that call me Miss Debbie or Miss Hazelton or Miss Deborah. And, it's just kind of funny. For a long time, they didn't, though. They would tell me they were Mr. or Mrs. and call me Debbie, So I guess I don't look like a little kid anymore, but it's kind of funny.
but going back to the difference in the culture, though, too, I've been taking classes up at Wallace Community College, and I just address the professor as, Dr. So and so. And then they corrected me. I do not
Mhm.
have my PhD. I only have my master's.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then they say, you can call me, and then they give me the first
Mm-hmm.
name. And they
Yeah.
do that for all the well, I say children. I mean, I know um they're adults now, but
Mm-hmm.
it just seems weird to me to call an instructor, uh, Judy or
Yeah. Yeah.
Debbie, I mean, it just
Mm-hmm.
seemed, it's just foreign to me. It just seems like you give the professor, just like you would a doctor, you give them your respect because of their profession and that they've worked hard and they have earned that respect
Mm-hmm.
as, for their job. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just
No, it's not. I mean, we're in the South, and I told one of my students, after these classes, when you see me out and about, you can call me by my name. And she said, "Oh, I don't think I'll be able to do that. I just don't think I would feel right about doing that."
no,
So,
I haven't felt that way unless I were friends with them. That if I were to go out to dinner or visit with them, have conversation, I might be able to
mhm,
flip into the first name thing. But at school, no, it just seems like that I should say, Mr., Mrs., Miss,
mhm, mhm.
whatever title. But I think that's just a change in culture because I was never, has anybody else either in school, I mean, like high school or college, ever just call your teacher uh Glenda?
Yeah.
I have a question, Glenda.
Well, I think for the group, it's been a lot of years since we all been out of school where we
Oh, I
had
can remember that.
the opportunity.
Yeah. I was
Well, I mean, even with doctors, and I've still felt like, don't call me by my first name if you're going to insist that I call you a formal title, But I think that with this talk, in a way, I think where we maybe want to go is how are we doing and feeling about respect? How are we able to give it to ourselves, certainly to ourselves, and to others, especially as we find that people that we're around sometimes are very different than who we are, and how is that for being in the world to really, really like kind of, I guess I would say, live and let live. And to us give that to ourselves. Are we okay within ourselves? Because I know the first thing I do, I mean, I start giving myself grief, for, I should have done this and I should have done that and rah, 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 rah. But is that really the way to treat something that was made by spirit, that's filled with spirit? And is that what would I treat a friend like that? No, I hope not. If I do, my friend would probably feel like that's not very kind. So to treat ourselves that way. So, yeah, I think respect, respecting self and respecting others. Does anybody have any thoughts?
Well, Unity has a little phrase that I
Debbie, can you
think
hear
is
me?
apropos. Um, it is the Christ in me salutes the Christ in you. And if
Mm-hmm.
we're coming from that place of remembering who we are and seeing that same thing in the other person, then we know that we're worthy and they are too. And I think that's respect.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Debbie, can you hear us?
Yes, you're a little far away, but
I guess you have to yell. Okay. Okay. Well, I was just gonna say that as you get to know people and they demonstrate kindness and integrity, which is the Christ in them, I feel much more respectful towards them. And I
mm-hmm.
probably respect everyone, but when people demonstrate those qualities, the level of respect that I have for them goes up.
That reminds me of a little parable, and I didn't know when I used it in one of my books that it came from another book, and now I don't remember who wrote it, but it was The Mystery of the Dipper and the Bucket. And it says that everyone carries a bucket, and it gets filled up or emptied depending on how our self-esteem is and how we feel. Are we kind of in the driver's seat of our own life, or are we feeling kind of like more vulnerable? And so it says that other people fill our buckets by things that happen and then that are good, like sometimes, nice things that happen can fill our buckets. But if our bucket is already empty, we might not know how to take a compliment. Like, wow, that's a really nice outfit you're wearing. Well, what the heck was wrong with the one I wore yesterday? Or, not taking a compliment really well, or not taking a gift, not comfortable taking a gift, thinking, oh, what am I going to owe? What am I going to have to do for this? But then it goes on to say that other people have dippers and they can get their dippers into our buckets. So, like criticisms and negative comments and, just mean kinds of things that can happen can dip out of our buckets. And so, I think what I hear you kind of saying is, yeah, when you feel respected, your bucket gets more full, and how nice that is to feel that level go up higher.
And I think the word integrity is important in with regard to respect. Barb used that word, the word integrity. I think
Oh,
that
yes.
is so important. But we've talked a lot about respecting our elders, but I think that we need to respect little children too.
Yes.
A 2-year-old, an 18-month-old,
Oh,
you know,
yes, Rose.
and really deeply honor their little hearts and feelings and be treat
Mm.
with respect and be deeply respectful of them.
Oh, beautiful. And
Uh,
I think there's still a little child in all of us, too. I know my little child never too far away.
what?
My little child is never too far away.
That's right.
I think that little child, and remembering that helps me remember the little child, because I think some people forget as they get older that they're that what it was like to be that little child. Ah, there's Genevieve. Yay. But what is it, what memories of being that little child, and what did we want as little children, and maybe still want to know that we're loved and that we're safe and that we're enjoyed, and or that there's kindness, and so, yeah, to bring that to the children and to the child within others.
That makes me think of a story that I had when I was a kid. I was in the Methodist teaching at the time, and I was a youth representative at a conference. And during the conference, one of the breaks, one of the ministers hit on me. And I was about 14 or 15 years old and a virgin and a new boyfriend. And this person was supposed to be an authority figure, and it threw me for a loop for what my boyfriend would be doing, the minister was doing. And I took it to my family, but long story short, I don't think they ever really did anything about it. But as a child, authorities can not represent their role very well, for lack of a better way to say that. So, children are the most vulnerable because they can look at a parent, or they can look at a minister, or they can look at a coach or a teacher and have this respect for them, but it's not mutual.
They can say the last part of that again, please.
That the child will have a respect for an adult that doesn't
Ah,
have respect for the
yes.
child.
Yes. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. And yeah, and painful to then go to attempt to get a sense of safety and a sense of support from others who don't give it. I found myself thinking lately, that's the one thing about God. That's the one thing about spirit is that it's always there. It's always there. And the support and the love, the goodness, the grace, it doesn't, it's not coming and going or there one minute and gone the next. And like people sometimes, but wow. That's,
I think that's probably why I like the song by the Staple Singers, Respect Yourself. I think what we can do in our environment is help teach self-respect if there's a way to do that. Because I think if I had to have self-respect, maybe having been a Girl Scout all those years, I don't know that I was a debutante yet, but I had other environments that helped me have self-respect as a young person. And I see us doing that in our environments too, that instill it in other environments. If they're not getting it at home, if they're not getting it somewhere, they'll get it somewhere. And hopefully our place will be one of the places that they get respect.
I like that. I think that there are people who the last thing that many people think of is to respect self. But because I remember when somebody said to me once, "Well, do you like yourself?" And I thought that was so funny. I was like, "What? Do I like myself?" I have a dear friend who is very kind to other people, but thinks it's too much trouble to make a nice dinner for himself or, doesn't want to do certain nice things for himself. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you deserve it? Don't you do that for a friend? Actually, I think he does now. I think he does do some of those nice things for himself that he didn't used to do. But I think that is somehow, I remember getting compliments and hearing, oh, watch out, she's going to get a swelled head. She's going to get a big head. And yet, yeah, to give it to self. And that means being able to speak up and say, yes, please, and no, thank you. And I would like this, or I would prefer this, or I need or want this. And no is a complete sentence. No, thank you. No, I don't want that. No, I'm not going to do that. Having healthy boundaries. Because if that child is within us, then that child needs us to be looking out for him or her and honoring and taking care of that child. So yeah, and then to be that as examples out in the community for others who maybe haven't gotten that, because I think a lot of people really don't have that, aren't taught that. And I think there's a lot about our society. I sometimes find myself saying I think slavery is still alive and sick, that there are ways that people treat other people that still bring about enslavement, not as dramatically as maybe, in the days of slavery, but I think there's still a lot of it. And not thinking of really how we treat, how what do others know and what do we bring to others about respect?
Really glad, Debbie, that you brought up boundaries because I think that boundaries are so key to all of this because it's really easy. In the past, it's been easy for me to try to, make somebody else happy, a spouse or whatever, parents or whatever. And you kind of lose that boundaries and you lose kind of respect for yourself at some point because all you do is give and you don't take care of yourself because you don't have healthy boundaries. And then you're irritated with yourself for getting yourself into the situation and people aren't treating you right. And it goes both ways. Like everybody needs that to an extent, I think, in order to have healthy respect for each other. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but
I think you're exactly right. That's what I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose.
Wow. I think it's it's like Nisi, we were talking yesterday about making choices and choosing peace. Well, I think respect is something to choose. Self-respect, it's a choice. And there's like a signal. It's like, you know how we listen to our bodies and we know, oh, I need to go get rid of something, or I need to go bring something into my body. I'm thirsty or hungry, or oh, I haven't been to the bathroom and I got to go, or anything like that. We listen to our bodies. And I think that it's the same way with listening to when it is that, you know, oh, it's time for a boundary. And gee, the last time I felt like this, I had something happen like this a week ago. Somebody reached out to me, and at first I reached out politely, but I knew when I remembered talking to them the first time that I had a creepy feeling that something just felt very manipulative in my experience with them in one conversation years ago. And so I dragged my feet. And so even though I reached out to them and they were like, oh, this past weekend, oh, I'd love it if we could talk and blah, blah, blah. And I went to this other friend of mine. I said, I really don't want to. And I hate to say that I don't want to. I just didn't do anything else. I just left it, which is something I don't always like when other people do that. But if he asks me, I am going to say, oh, no, I'd rather not. And I might tell a little lie and say, oh, I'm so busy, which I am. It is true. Because maybe I'd rather say that than say, I'm not comfortable. I don't want to. But that's really what the little child within me knows. I'm not comfortable. I don't feel safe around him. I know it's not a good, warm, authentic integrity kind of feeling.
Why wouldn't you tell him that you don't feel safe with him?
Because I don't want him to ask me more questions, and I don't want him to try to nail into me with more, you know, persuasiveness.
Funny you said that. I had to distance myself from a friend that way, and I said those words to him. I'm like, I don't feel safe with you because everything that felt like it was putting me in danger, and he wasn't
Yeah.
getting it. And
Hmm.
I had said, something to him prior to that, and it wasn't like he didn't get it, and he still wants to be friends now, but I have to keep my word. That's not to be impeccable with your word. If he doesn't do anything different for me to be around him, I still can't be around you because you don't know what keeping me safe means. So I've got to keep me safe.
When I went to my friend about it, he said, oh, I remember hearing him talk to his wife, and I remember not liking the tone and the this and the that. And I'm like, yeah. So then he gets with other people, and it's like a, a friend romance kind of thing, like, oh, be my other person, because I don't respect my wife. I don't like my wife. So I want you to be that, I'm like, no, 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 no. But yeah, sometimes people do change, and it's nice. I mean, there are times that I've taken another chance, and it wasn't a creepy thing like that. It wasn't that kind of it wasn't that kind of a feeling, but like I learned to like certain people. I learned to like and change my tune or my tone, or learn to like, it's like taste buds change, and I've learned to like certain foods that I wouldn't have liked, and learned to dislike others that I had to have. Oh,
Well, I know I was going to kind of jump in here
good.
in about as far as like the respect, and like we have the doctors, the lawyers, the teacher, even the janitor or custodian, or and it could be any number of people in a role. And sometimes we would, this was going back to when I was working again, that occasionally it would kind of come up in topic. It's like, well, no, you're really, it's like, it was like, you really don't have to respect the person, but you should respect the position that that person has. Because, if, and kind of like hearing some of the conversations going on tonight, maybe it's kind of give a little more clarity. It's like, well, you could have a doctor or a priest, and just because he's, it's like because he is the priest, he should, we should have respect for that position. But as a person, if he was kind of like molesting or groping other people, well, you can't respect that person for that. But about accepting that the position that the person is in.
I can respect and not choose to like, or not choose to engage with, or not choose to go to lunch with, I can I can respect, and even this person that I decide, I can respect that there's, you know, a good part of him that's in him, even if I don't want to go and engage to try to find it. I can respect that he's still made of spirit.
Maybe part of the key is that the respect has to be mutual. It's, you can respect someone, but if they don't respect you, you wouldn't be respectful. It seems to me in all these conversations, well, I don't know what everybody else thinks. But
I can't make it be mutual because I have no control over if they do or don't. And I don't think it's like when people say, well, are we giving gifts this Christmas? And I'm like, I'm not deciding whether you are or not. And I'm deciding whether I am independently. And I don't want to give a gift because you are, or not give a gift because you don't want to, feel you have to. I don't want to have to think that.
I think
Mutual.
point, Debbie, like this person that you said that you didn't want to have contact with, that was disrespectful to his wife or had a that you didn't care for, demonstration that he didn't respect you, you didn't have respect for him, and it was kind of, don't you feel like he lacked respect for you by his behavior too? Don't you think there's a mutual component in many?
Not really. I think he might think he does. I think he might think that he admires me, and but he didn't hear me talk to his wife, and he didn't hear the sort of way he was trying to move in, to kind of almost like controlling, or using charisma in a way that just felt kind of icky. But he might think that he admires, or he might not really, he might not think that at all. I don't know. But I mean, I know people that I respect, even though I can think of people I respect whether they respect me or not, and people that have respected me when I didn't respect them, or when I didn't respect myself enough. I don't know about mutual. How about any of you else? Any others?
I think everything you said was right, both of you, because I look for mutual too, Barbara. But I like Debbie. I've respected people that may not have respected me, and vice versa. But that's the aim for me. I do want mutual, not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mutual does not mean same, but I do want it back. And respect doesn't mean like. It means integrity. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think respect has to have integrity in it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Yeah.
also depends on the relationship, if it's somebody that you know well, I don't know, but anyway, yeah.
That's okay. I mean, that it does. I mean, I don't think I want to hang out and keep uh you know giving and doing a lot for, it depends on the relationship, but for somebody who doesn't respect me, if they're being unkind, I might respect them, but I might respect them at a distance, but that doesn't mean that I have to engage with them or want to. or choose to.
Oh,
Like,
Debbie, so if someone is disrespectful to you, maybe they say something that's really hurtful or cursing at you or just, just not polite. And maybe that's not the first time that this has happened. I mean, don't you think that it's okay to just say,
oh yeah.
I'm cutting that person off? You know, I don't feel like that it's good for me, and I see no use to continue this relationship. Not that I don't know how the word
Yeah. I mean, that's healthy boundary, and it might be I'm not going to be around you. I'm not going to tolerate that behavior. Um, it doesn't mean that I don't respect them, though. I mean, it might mean that I respect them as a being, as a child of God, as a soul, that I respect that that's there, but I don't have to be around them. I don't have to like them. I don't have to do lunch with them, like I've said, and it's okay to have a healthy boundary and say no. No is a complete sentence.
It feels like there is a difference between accepting that a person is a child of God. We're
Mhm.
all children of God or of spirit or whatever. But that don't mean I respect you. I accept you for who you are, but I have no respect for someone who is dangerous, who is a bank robber, who is
Yeah.
I have no respect or regard for people who are toxic or who are disrespectful within themselves. And so I think there is a difference between acceptance and accepting someone for who they are, knowing knowing and understanding
Possibly.
who they are, but not out of that making the decision that I want no nothing to I don't want to
To do with them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess in a certain way, um, I mean, I might respect them, the God part of them, but not respect the human being. But I may not even accept them very well either, as a human being. I mean, I really may not. And yeah, it can be, and you know, still not want anything to do with them. But I don't know. Nisi, what do you think about that? Is there a point where it's okay to not respect?
Let's see, where am I? I've never been asked that question before, so I'm struggling too. But
uh,
I'm with Rose in the fact that if you're hurting me, that's the whole
yeah.
point of divorcing my husband because he was hurting me. So,
Hmm.
I don't think I have respect for that part, the abuse. Now, what I did
No.
recover from was that he was the father of my children and he didn't start out that way and I loved him. So it's almost like the shack. I have to go back to what caused them to be where they are today. And I might not like where they are today, but there was an innocent kid in there somewhere and somebody messed with them and here they are. But stay away from me. So the bottom line is I think I respect them back to the fact that they're a child of God, but I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to let God handle them,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah. It's a thing for God to handle. I definitely
Right,
agree. Yeah.
and it
right.
to me like
Hmm.
passion, you know, still not respect for me. I mean, acceptance of who someone is in terms of their behavior or whatever, but in having compassion for their injury but and I'm not talking about non-forgiveness or anything, but respect is a real powerful thing to me. And it carries with it the concepts of integrity
Mhm.
and being, having some level of consciousness. I, I don't know how to express it, but it to me it's different from having compassion for or just an understanding of that person as a human being.
I mean, you can love someone but not respect them.
Yeah,
Pardon?
right.
You can love
Right.
right.
Mm.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting too.
Did you hear?
Mhm. I guess, yeah, I was really looking at it from the spiritual. The God in me beholds the God in you. I don't have to like you. I don't have to want to be around you, but I know there's a spark of that spirit in you. And I guess that's where I was thinking of respect as a principle. But, but yeah, I mean,
To deny that. I'm not meaning to deny that, but it just doesn't,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What Rose said made Charles Manson come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't respect Charles Manson. So
No.
but if you go to the bottom of his story, I see why Charles Manson is why he is. There's always more to it. So no, the act of what he did, heck no. But when you see his story, it makes sense what he did.
Right.
I mean, it was done unto him, and he just put it back out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that is compassion.
And that's different for you
Okay.
than respect.
I think so.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. I
Interesting.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Charles Manson.
It's not admiration. I get,
Oh.
no. I guess just regard in spite of, but not, yeah. I mean, it's not like it's not like I would want to invite them to the banquet table.
I agree with Rose, and I think like if you look at different marriage situations, people can do bad things in a marriage over and over and over. And that person, their spouse, whoever it might be, might still care for them, might still have compassion for them and even love them. But if they're doing things that are hurtful to the spouse, to the family, to themselves, or whatever, I can see how respect can definitely be crumbled away and chipped away.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah, I can see that too. And maybe it's
Just
compassion, but not to the point of, oh, I feel sorry for them, therefore I'm going to condone or allow or participate in or any of that. No.
And I think the concept of self-respect that you brought out, Debbie, is so important for it.
Oh, yeah.
Debbie, can you turn on a light? You're fading
Oh
away.
boy. Oh
It's
boy.
dark.
I'll have to see if I can find it. It's a string. Let me
Okay.
see.
Well,
Let
if
me
you
see.
can't, it's okay. We can still hear you.
Let me see if I can find it. I know we're about at the hour, but hold on. Let me see.
Yep, you're right. We're at 8:01.
Oh, man.
I love Debbie's equipment and her voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super pro.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a regular tech room there.
Yeah. I guess she does podcasts and all
Mhm.
sorts of things.
I didn't mean to run her off of the screen completely.
We'll do a commercial break for anybody who listens to this later. Janine, you did a outstanding grandstand out of the box talk on Sunday. I have listened to it, and I'm listening to it again, and bravo,
Thank you.
bravo.
Thank you. I was trying to get ready for the work party and trying to write my talk, and it's like, do I sweep over here or do I like, you know?
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely
Oh,
beautiful.
that's perfect, Debbie. Thank you.
Yay!
So Glenda, you were going to tell us your thoughts on respect.
Was I? Let's see. Um, I can't think of what I was going to say, Rose. If it comes back, I'll speak up.
And
Did
Janine,
that help? I hope you got light now.
Yes, you've got plenty of
Okay.
light. Looks
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Well, were you asking me, Rose?
yeah, your thoughts on respect. We haven't heard from you or Glenda.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of joined late, so I feel like I might have missed some of the
No, it's
definition or the
okay.
common language around it.
It's okay.
But for
Any
me,
time is the right time.
for me, I do like to think of the respect just on a very base level as human beings, that we have regard for the divinity within everyone, and their conditioning lands them in certain spots. But I also think of respect in terms of thinking that someone has done a good job or is competent, or, sometimes I think of it in that way. You really respect someone, integrity. I was trying to think like examples of saying I really respect someone and what encompasses all the nuances of that. But I do think it just as human beings we're deserving of respect on a base level.
Yeah, and I think that respect is recognizing those God qualities in the other person and the potential for them, whether they're expressed or not. And so if they're not showing mutual respect, that's their misunderstanding, that's their loss. But it shouldn't really affect me in how I act and respond. So I think it's not always possible to have mutual respect because we can't be responsible for what another person does. But when there's not mutual respect, the need to secure a boundary is even greater, you know? So,
So, yeah, that's kind of where I was starting with the divinity, that spark of divinity in spite of their humanness.
mhm, mhm.
Um,
And I agree with what Rose said about children needing respect
mhm.
because many of us were raised in an era where children were not considered needing respect. And we didn't get listened to or heard or understood or anything. We were just told to just do as we're told. And that's not really respectful.
Children are to be seen and not heard.
Right.
I remember even telling my mother, and I don't know how old I was. I hope I wasn't beyond like 21 or something, but she said something and I disagreed and I said, it's my opinion. And she said, you're not entitled to one. Like,
Mm,
who isn't entitled to an opinion? Wow.
yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. It's really beautiful to watch Nisi with her little granddaughter Lyric because she's very respectful of Lyric and always listening to her and understanding what, trying to understand what she wants and what she's saying. And that's a very, nice way to be with children.
I've heard you with your grandchildren that way too. When I first came here, I mean, a long time ago, but I heard you with them. Very interested in them and wanting to know and listening and just enjoying every second of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Typical grandma.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. Lovely. But we deserve that within us, from us, and others deserve that. And, like I said at the very beginning, it doesn't mean we have to hang out with them but still just to honor that spark, that childlike. And didn't Jesus say to enter into the kingdom, you have to be like a little child? That little child is so important. That's why I gave that talk. It's the child some months ago. It's the child. And I think even that feeling of compassion for the children is it pulls at my heartstrings, um, because that child is still within me and within all of us. It's just still there.
Mhm.
And Debbie, I want to be sure, I don't, I don't mean to contradict that, the having high regard and respect for another person, all persons, of all ages, of all, whatever. Um, just as you have said, uh, to have respect for God in them. But I my point is my point for me is when I think in terms of respect, I'm thinking about, you know, attributes that
Yeah.
may may show to us.
Maybe I won't respect them as a human being. Maybe some I will respect that they're a spirit or a spark of spirit, but that I don't want to give them the attribute of respect. What is that? How do you feel? What does that sound like?
As long as we have good boundaries, I think I certainly think that what you're saying is correct. I mean, but then the next thing that comes to my mind is the need for boundaries. And as we uh, move forward in any way with that person.
Mm-hmm. I didn't hear all of that.
We're about 10 minutes after the hour, just to keep the time in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I
Although
mentioned
this is great.
anyway. We'll talk later.
Rose, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad to have you around and be hearing from you so much more often. I like you a lot. You have my respect. I enjoy you. And I was thinking about you yesterday or the day before, thinking I'd love to spend more time with her. So I'm really glad that you're here.
Thank you, Debbie. In the respect is mutual.
Oh, sweet. Sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very sweet. Ah, well, does anybody have any kind of thing that they've wanted to say that they haven't had a chance to say? Or
It feels like respect is a quality like love, that you have to respect yourself before you can respect anyone else. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And it's not selfish, it's just the way it keeps us balanced.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I really think, and like you said last week, Nisi, that you feel that acceptance comes before forgiveness. I also think acceptance is an important way to open up the way to respect beyond the what I don't like, or the humans that I maybe don't want, but I can respect or at least respect that spark. Behold the Christ within, but not respect in terms of attributes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do.
Well, all right.
Closing
Well,
treatment.
all right. Well, Spirit, we give you thanks for this time of communing together, of being together and speaking from hearts and minds and opening up possibilities of new ways of treating ourselves better, more kindly, and treating others kindly, and at the same time treating others maybe with a sometimes maybe a neutral sort of respect if we don't want to, if we don't feel comfortable treating them with kindness, or at least having kind thoughts and feelings without always having to engage. But may we go forward in the best interest of Spirit, taking what we like and leaving the rest. And I give thanks to Spirit for all of you being here and for this time that we've spent. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Debbie.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.